So this is what we're making today, a set of forged earrings that look a bit like a leaf or a feather. Take your pick. The metal you need for the earrings is 0.5 thick fine silver. It's 35 millimeters long, 10 millimeters wide. Imperial, or the old money, it's 1 3/8 long and 3/8 wide. Don't know what the gauge is, 0.5 millimeters thick. Now you need to anneal this, and because it's fine silver, it anneals really quickly. So what I do is I just put a texture mark on it, and we heat it until the texture mark just starts to disappear, usually about 5 seconds. So I've got this on my charcoal block. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 7 seconds. Quench this, and then we'll work it. I don't know whether you noticed, but when I was heating this, it started to turn dark. That's sterling. Fine silver doesn't turn dark, and that's one of the little tests. It's a little trick I just taught you inadvertently. So that's 6 seconds, and our little texture dot disappears, and you can see that this is still bright silver. And I'll just go ahead and do the sterling, and the sterling will actually turn quite dark. So that's your test. If you're ever unsure about a piece of metal, silver, heat it up. If it turns black, it's sterling. If it stays silver, it's fine silver. So quench these and we'll get on with it. Now we're going to bend these in the middle. So dry it when it comes out of your water and mark it in the middle. And the easy way is just to get the width, divide it by 2, set your calipers, drag the back of it, and you've got a nice fine line. Now there are a couple of ways to do this. I've got what they call confirming pliers, and they're just broad, flat pliers that you can get at Rio Grande. So put the mark on the edge, and you can just push it against your bench plate, and you've got a nice piece ready to work. Another way to do it is to put it in your bench vise. I got the GRS bench vise, which is quite good. It doesn't have teeth on the inside, so it won't put marks on the metal. And you can just push it over with your thumb. Because it's fine silver, it's fairly easy to work. So now we're ready to start forming it. Now that's 2 ways to do this. I'm sure there are heaps more. I never used to have this stuff in the past, and I still used to make these. So what you can do is you can use your parallel jaw pliers to just grab it. It puts a few more dents in it, but it works just fine. So we'll continue. So I'm on my little makeshift bench here, my piece of timber, and my bench block piece of steel. If you have an anvil, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a French jeweler's hammer. You could just as easily use a ball peen hammer. This is polished flat and fairly sharp edge. So I'm just gently hammering this to make sure that the edges are lined up. Then once your edges are lined up, flatten it out, and we're going to use the cross pane part to put marks in it. And I'm just going to go the whole length. Flip it over and do the other side. Do both pieces. Hallmark them. Now the folded edges here, and we want to hallmark it on the side where the edges aren't folded, because I found if you hallmark it right on that seam, it doesn't want to open up. Now we need to cut what's basically a leaf shape. So a bit of a taper on this end and just slightly rounded on the other end. However you want to cut it is fine. If you want to saw it, use shears, whatever. Make them both the same. Once you have your shape cut out, use your number 2 cut flat hand file to tidy up your marks. And I just file at a 45-degree angle on the side to get any little burrs off. And then 400 grade paper on your sanding stick just on the edge, just to get your file marks off. Now we need to anneal these again because you've work hardened them by hammering on the sides, and we want to open them up. So this is where you really need to know how to anneal fine silver, because the two pieces are nice and tightly together. And if you bring these up to a bright red, they'll fuse. You'll never get them open. So that was 5 or 6 seconds per piece. It's annealed. Quench it, and we'll continue. So these are quenched, dried. They're not pickled. You don't have to pickle fine silver because it doesn't tarnish. Now we're going to open these. We'll start to open them. You can either use your fingernails, which most women cringe at, or you can use a burnisher. So you just work that in. Be careful you don't scratch the inside. You could use a knife that you dulled and polished. So we just want to get the opening a bit like this, and that's enough to work with. Do them both. This is just the small end of a ring mandrel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that against that, gently hammer it with my rawhide hammer. And there you go. We have a nice little leaf shape. Do them both. It's soft enough you can actually form it with your fingers from here. I kind of like the ripply shape. Now we need to drill a hole for our ear wires, and we're just going to put a punch mark where we're going to drill. And this is just to ensure that the drill goes where we want it to go. So put the drill in the punch mark, and it'll go through fairly quickly because you've thinned the metal when you put your punch mark on it. Now tidy up this back bit a little bit, I just use the sanding stick to get rid of the burr. You can use a medium abrasive wheel on your handpiece. You don't have to do the front, but do the back. So you can see that knocks that off quite quickly. So now we're ready to make a set of ear wires. .8 round wire, sterling, 45 millimeters long. File the ends flat with your number 2 cut flat hand file, both ends. Use your 400 grade paper on a sanding stick. Make sure that there are no sharp edges on either end. Now, I'm going to make a set of French ear wires, and I'll just show you quickly. But you can make any kind of ear wire you want, as long as your loop is big enough to fit the earring. So I make a lot of ear wires, and I've marked these pliers so that I know the loop size will always be the same size and my drop. So this is the size loop I want. Roll it tightly against your finger, relax, spin it around, grab it again, roll it until it touches. Slip your pliers down, center the loop. Now this opening wants to be up, and I want this much of a drop, so I've shifted the loop over to the side of the pliers. Push it down 45 degrees, push that over to the other side, go to the largest part of your pliers, up and over, put a little kick in the end. That's your ear wire. Now, this wire has tension in it because I pulled it down from a larger wire. What you can do, if it's a bit soft, is you can use your block, a planishing hammer, gently planish the hook. Gently is the operative word. And it just slightly flattens it, but it makes it nice and hard. So now, your parallel jaw pliers, twist that sideways, put your ear ring on, close that until it touches the wire, because we don't want this falling off. So there you go, that's your ear wire with a leaf shape. Done. Run your fingers over your earrings. If you feel any little rough bits, use your sanding stick. Yeah, and you don't have to do anything to these now other than just wear them. They're done.